Hello, guys. It's me and the professor. So here to basically vent our spleen, so to speak, about the shenanigans happening in social media and what's basically been aggravating us for a very long time. It's not something new, as you guys have known for some time. We've basically been telling people that the current social media barons, the way they're running these outlets are basically just suppressing more and more, are becoming far more woke orientated and are suppressing free speech. At the end of the day, they are providing an outlet for creators. All they're providing is the data centers, no different than somebody providing a building. That's what they're doing. They're providing a building for us to basically set up our wares, so to speak, set up our store. It's our business. It's our outlet that we've actually created. Without us creators, without the people actually physically having the store set up with staff, with themselves, with a theme to sell or promote or whatever you want to call it. At the end of the day, without us, they wouldn't exist. Now, I don't like somebody actually interfering in my business, telling me how I can run my business, how I can run my affairs, and what I can say and do inside my business. They get their cut through advertising. That's their model. They've actually asked for a model that's based on advertising. Others require in a building rent. Everybody's got a different approach, the way they actually, building. There have been, if you look at exhibitions and places like that, there are exhibitions where people don't basically pay rent. They have cross advertising and stuff like that with the people that actually own the facility. So there are a whole lot of different scenarios in the way, but fundamentally, the people that are actually have set up whether it's a display at an exhibition center, or whether it's a display, or whether it's an outlet, or whether it's an electronic version of that. At the end of the day, they are the same, and the law would view them as the same. And these people think that they can basically just interfere in other people's business, get inside it would be the equivalent of somebody walking into my store and telling me how I could actually basically sell my stuff, how I can actually run my business, who I can employ, who I can't employ, how I can interact with my customers, or in this regard, with my subs. It's the same thing. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about where we've got a small elite of tech barons who basically think they are a law unto themselves, where they can actually do whatever they like. They can basically they are not a publisher. There's a difference between a publisher. A publisher basically has reporters, has their own outlet, and basically they are completely vertically integrated as a single entity, as a business. These guys are basically no different than any other business that's actually got an outlet, like a building, like one of those big real estate companies that own a whole lot of buildings, or malls or stuff like that, like a mall owner. That's all they are. They don't produce any content. We are the producers of the content. It's our businesses that are basically there. It's our outlets that are basically there. And these people think that they can just run shotgun, and they've actually had some legal type of exemptions and all that do violate the Constitution in the US. I don't know enough about it. I know that some people talk about this. I'm just going to show quickly a little video. I'll just put this up for a sec. And just to be on the safe side with copyright as well, we've got to be a bit careful how far we go with this.
Apparently.
Yes, exactly.
That class action lawsuit. Alan Dershowitz, famed attorney.
Is that coming through the audio?
Just to kind of break this down for us, Alan, I know you listened to this in its entirety.
This guy is a Harvard professor. an ex-Harvard emeritus. He's a legal scholar. He's basically looking at he's doing a reaction on the lawsuit of former President Donald Trump lawsuit against big tech, Twitter, Facebook, Google. Google, when you think about Google, it's YouTube as well. They own it.
He's also suing the CEOs of those big tech companies personally, Harry, as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so he's suing YouTube and its owners, Facebook and its owners.
Oh well,
Twitter
that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Twitter and their CEOs. What did you make of it?
And their CEOs, yeah.
Well, as you know, I wrote a book about that exact subject, the case against the new censorship, protecting free speech from big tech.
So he's actually written a book about it, and so he has some understanding. I'm not an expert in law in the States, so I can't really. But I do know that there have been litigation by mall owners, people that own malls. People that have got outlets in malls who've basically had mall owners do certain unconscionable things to them and actually affected their businesses. So that's another element. I don't know whether they're going to be focusing on, they're going to be touching on that as well. I suspect they are, because that aspect, because it is affecting people monetarily as well.
I can give you a little bit of a rundown on my understanding of that. It doesn't take too long.
Go right
Basically,
ahead.
My understanding, which may of course be flawed, but my understanding is it goes like this. There is a piece of legislation in the States which allows the big tech companies, the YouTubes, the Twitters, the Facebooks, those kind of companies, to be immune from prosecution.
That's it.
On the basis of what people publish. In other words, if I go on Facebook and write Harry Sopanos is a cunt, Facebook cannot be sued for me having done that. The reason that they get this exemption is explicitly because they understand and they sign into it saying, we are not a publisher, we are a platform.
Exactly.
The responsibility for what people post on our platform lies with them and not with us. That being the case, their right to edit what we say is none at all. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. So the idea here is
it's exactly the analogy that I gave earlier about the mall owner.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So you want to censor us? That means you're responsible and you can be sued by anyone that doesn't like what we actually do say and what you do publish. And it also opens up the door for us to sue you if we don't like the way you edit us. That's what Donald Trump's going with, I think. Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the crux of it. And that's what this person is actually stating. I will place that in the chat, and I'll also pin it so people can go and actually listen to it after.
Very good.
So they've got an opportunity. Bart's pretty much given a good overview. There's the Donald.
Today, in conjunction with the America First Policy Institute, I'm filing as the lead class representative a major class action lawsuit against the big tech giants, including Facebook, Google, Twitter.
We have all the best lawsuits, all the best ones.
Mark Zuckerberg, Sundar Pichai, and Jack Dorsey. 3 real nice guys.
I'll leave it there so we don't get any copyright strikes. Yes, very nice guys.
All the best ones.
Yes, who love free speech, you know.
Yeah.
Such nice fellows. I'll drop that in as well in the chat. Yeah. The reality is that these people basically are not they think, look, it's basically, these are the first the tech companies are the first companies some of them that actually achieved $1 trillion, like a valuation of, about $1 trillion. We're talking about corporates that are bigger than most countries around the world. We're talking of behemoths in terms of size, and they only became this big because millions and millions of people around the world, like Bart and me, actually use their platform to produce content and basically make their platform very valuable. And what they've done is they've abused their rights as, platform owners to interfere in other people's affairs, initially. And that's even the word, it wasn't called their tube, it was called YouTube. That means us, the creators, the viewers. It's basically directed at us. It's not them. They are just the platform owners. And that's how it was all set up from the beginning. And they didn't interfere. They basically left us alone. So there's actually a pre-existing sort of conditions of service that were established a very long time ago, where they didn't interfere, where they didn't basically tell us what we could put on or what we couldn't put on or what we couldn't say. And what they did was they abused that right. They basically went all woke on us, then engineered a whole lot of AIs to turn on us, with a vengeance, with a woke vengeance, especially in recent times. A lot of horror shows where people have been complaining and saying a lot of their comments are just being deleted. And I was noticing, I went through my own, it took me a while to go through a whole lot of lists. I'm not going to do that now, but a lot of people know because I've had similar experiences where, people are putting like 3 times comments on my, channel. And I see it's in the notifications quite clear, as I've shown in the previous video that I did, but they've basically just been removed every single time. And I can understand people getting frustrated and thinking maybe it's the owner that's actually responsible and not basically the platform guys that are doing it. And so that could affect, if it was my livelihood like it is for Bart, that could affect directly his income. And not only that, also directly affect him as a person. Even mentally, if you're being basically attacked by the platform owner, it's like the person owning the mall, turning up every day and harassing you. You can only take so much, because that's what it is. It is a form of harassment. It is a form of interference in your business. It is a form of basically undermining you continuously. You've created content, you're bringing people to your store, and that content is basically providing them advertising income, and they're not happy with that. On top of that, they want to basically interfere in your business affairs and basically undermine you as well. It's just unheard of anywhere in other areas of commerce. This behavior would have been considered criminal, quite clearly criminal, and these people think that they can just run shotgun over every other person, and especially us creators. I'll let Bart vent a bit as well.
Yeah, right. Well, first of all, Harry, thank you for doing this at stupid o'clock, 6 a.m. your time. It's an important issue. No, it's only just picking up now here, and we're 2 hours ahead of you, obviously, on our circular shaped globe, or our oblate spheroid globe. It's an important issue. It's one that we need to talk about. It's one that we need to keep talking about. I am hopeful that the lawsuit initiated by the Don and his cronies gets some leverage at least. If it's not a successful lawsuit, I hope that at least it garners enough public support and enough attention that something is done. At the end of the day, we've covered the facts of the matter here as we understand them and as we see them from our point of view. That being, YouTube is a platform and not a publisher. YouTube has taken on the role of publisher. YouTube has taken on the role of arbiter of goodness, justice, what's acceptable and what's not. They've become social justice warriors. They've decided not only what I can say on my channel, both in my videos, but they've also decided how I can respond to people that make comments on my channel as well. If I respond the way I want to respond to people, my comment gets deleted by YouTube within seconds. There are certain keywords that they look for, or the AI looks for, that nukes those comments out straight away, gone. YouTube is quite happy for people to abuse me, though. So it's not even a fair injustice. So long as you're on the right side of the argument as far as YouTube is concerned, so long as you want to call me a disgusting carnist or, you know, any of these kind of things, or have a shot at my the way I present myself or the things I say or whatever, that's fine. But if I respond in kind, no, that's not okay, for example, I know that a lot of you have heard these things before, but we need to say them again because we need them on record. Here is a list of some of the things that YouTube has done in the last just over 3 years that I've been a YouTube creator. Shadow banning is real. That's the first comment here. Example, in the run up, in the 12 months running up to March, early April 2020, my channel was garnering 1,500 to 2,000 new subscribers a month, every month, without fail for 12 months solid. My trajectory was upwards. My channel was just about to explode through and become a massive channel. About that time, I made some comments about the statistics, the published statistics concerning a certain global so-called emergency that's going on right now. All I did was say, here are the published statistics. Here is how we can interpret those statistics. Here are the facts of the matter. Unambiguously, this is not my opinion. These are the numbers, as I said. From that point to this point today, well, I was at 14,200 subscribers at that time, March of 2020. Today, I have just short of 15,100, some 15 months later. Every day I get a report on subscribers in and out. And funnily enough, pretty much as many people as join my channel, the same number of people miraculously unsubscribe, or a very similar number on a day-by-day basis. And what's even more interesting is that those people that have unsubscribed, when I contact any of them that I happen to know, had no idea about it and had not unsubscribed. They have been unsubscribed by YouTube, which is akin, as Harry says in the mall analogy, to them having allowed me to set up my store in their mall with an arrangement that they will pay me X amount of money for every person through the door of my store in the mall, except they've got someone at the door of my store turning people away, saying, don't go in there. Or if you do, we're going to kick you straight back out.
That's right.
It's absolutely fucking criminal. There is no excuse for it. Okay, so that's one thing. Another thing they do is, if I go live and do a live stream, an example was yesterday I did the live stream with Ray. We had a rant about it then. I did all the usual promotion. People knew about the live stream. It was on my Discord server. People knew about it. We went live, and for the first half an hour, there were about 30 fucking people on the live stream. 30. A decent live stream that I run should get between 75 and 100 even on current numbers, which are already held down by YouTube because they've already got their foot on my throat. After about an hour, I finally crept up to somewhere like about 40 at maximum on that live stream. I've heard since that people were sitting there and their screen was buffering. YouTube will not allow more than a certain number of people in to the live stream. They were limiting the viewership of that live stream, for example. So
I mean, I can attest to that one as well, because I've been buffeted as well, coming onto yours, and I've actually had to come back at a later stage to view it.
Yeah, exactly. And then even then, sometimes, the momentum's gone. That's killed your video. You're quite right. You're quite right too, Jared, with the dangerous medical misinformation that I'm proffering out there. Of course, I need to be stopped, son. I'm a danger to society. I'm a danger to shipping with all my goddamn actual science and truth and shit, isn't it? Anyway,
and who gave them the right? Who put them on a pedestal and they gave them some godlike right?
Yeah, I mean, even these they're even shooting themselves in the foot when you look at the Facebook example with the so-called fact checking. There's a meme at the moment doing the rounds that shows a picture of the Statue of Liberty 100 years ago and a picture of the Statue of Liberty now, which shows that the sea level around the Statue of Liberty is exactly the same as it was 100 years ago. And the fact checkers are saying, it's not true that the sea level hasn't risen in Sydney Harbour. Oh, right. Well, fuck me. When did they move the Statue of Liberty to fucking Sydney Harbour?
Exactly.
And we're to be arbiters of truth. Oh.
I mean, there are some parts of the world that can work anywhere. There's some parts of the world where they've seen a lot of erosion, coastal erosion. Other areas where the coastline has actually grown and extended. That is normal. That happens over a lot. That's not something new now. It's happened over history. If you look,
Harry?
I mean,
how dare you?
Remember, I come from a my field is cartography, spatial science, and basically I know these things. I've looked at old maps going back historically, even before we had this sort of level of carbon or industrial, and there was a lot of changes over 100 years in different coastal areas in Tasmania when it came to the sort of mapping definitions. And that has to do, and that those surveyors were using similar techniques. I mean, this is a well-known technology that goes back we've just modernized the tools that we use nowadays. But, apparently,
no, Harry,
this doesn't happen.
Listen,
The world is static, mate. It's static, according to YouTube. It's only their way.
Your 40 years of professional experience in this area and knowledge in this area is at odds with the accepted narrative. Therefore, you are a bigot and you must be stopped.
Apparently. I mean, people doing hydrographic survey have got no idea, and their historical data is irrelevant. It's just a joke. It is absolute joke that these people can think that they can sit there and basically pontificate, because that's what they're doing, pontificating as if basically they are the arbiters of truth over the whole of society. All they are is a friggin' platform. That's what their business is. It's a platform. It is me, Bart, and many others who are the creators.
They have a social responsibility, Harry, to make sure that naughty bald men don't say bad words or bad things about Greta or anything against the people.
They've got an exemption in law. They've got an exemption in law as a platform. So they can't argue from that sort of position because they've got an exemption in law. They are directly interfering in your business, my business, and a whole lot of other people's. And I know some people said, well, maybe the lawsuit, different people have different opinions. I mean, I've never been, I'm not a supporter of the personal supporter of the DOM or any. I don't like politicians in general, as most people know. I believe in direct democracy, so I'm not a popular fan of any politician in that regard. I think that the political class, to some extent, are corrupt or whatever. But on this point, I'm on the same page with the DOM, the Don and many other people that are basically, Garrett. Mentioned Steve. What was the guy's name again? Steve Crowder. Steve Crowder as well. That basically, he's taking action as well. And there's going to be more people in the future. Yeah, these people need to be stopped. They think they are emperors on the planet. You know, for a very long time, they've been shifting their, they make shitloads of income, and they've been shifting a lot of their profits to tax havens to avoid being taxed. And there is a move around the world to basically, go after them, because these people basically think that they can avoid where others have to pay. People that have to that work for someone, as an example, or have a small business, are basically, the tax man's there. They can't escape the tax man. But these guys think that they can get away with blue murder. They can earn income in certain parts of the world and just walk away and not pay anything, and leave the local population. And in many cases, these people basically, it's the creators in those countries who are creating the content and all that. So these guys are just ripping the system left, right, and center and getting exemptions of all sorts. And then they think that they're arbiters of truth. These people are told to their head.
On the flip side of that, Harry, you have to actually give plaudits to Uncle Bill for buying up all the farmland in the state so that people can't put those nasty cows on them, which of course will turn those land into dust bowl and destroy them, of course. And also he's also graciously working on a plan to block out the fucking sun as well.
Yeah, how crazy is that?
Well, look, anyone that can get a clear shot on Bill, please take it.
It's the equivalent of the old. These people don't understand. If you get below 180 parts per million, and plants absolutely struggle, and you go below 150, and it's all goodbye about as far as plants go. These people are talking about zero, and we go through cycles where the actual sun actually reduces its intensity. And if you just imagine a scenario where these people are blocked out the sun's intensity is reduced, and then on top of that, basically you get a collapse below 150. You got mass starvation of not only the human species, but many other species. These people are irresponsible, crazy. They think they are actually gods and emperors of the planet, that they can basically dictate these sort of ideas. And there's other crackpots in history. There were crackpots in the past when there was basically, too much, it was too cold. They thought that, because since the 30s, the mean temperature around the world has been going down until the 70s, where they thought that we were heading for another ice age. It's just the normal cycles, and humans are just basically viewing things within their time of existence. Because human life, is short. So we're looking at it through the prism, because we don't have the ability. We don't have Star Trek technology to be able to actually measure every single molecule of anything in the atmosphere and what's actually happening to it. Whether basically something coming through the atmosphere is actually being taken up by water vapor or carbon or whatever, we don't know. The reality is we don't have that technology or means. It's all estimates and speculations. That's not science and dodgy models, that think that, and these people basically, when you look and go back and look at the model prediction and actually what the mean temperature was, it's not the same. It's out by a big margin. And these people are telling you that they can predict what's going to happen in the future. This is the sort of garbage science, like epidemiology. This is the sort of garbage trash science that actually is being promoted out there, upending our society. And then we've got these captains of of the world, or emperors of the world, let's put it, who they think they are, basically running shotgun over the whole of society and thinking they can dictate whatever they like.
Yeah. I had an experience recently, Harry, which you probably saw, where I went on the Fight the Flat Earth channel to have a word with them, including their tame so-called earth scientist, not that many months ago, really. And I presented an argument, not my argument, I presented an argument put together by a couple of Irish researchers who are very eccentric, I'll give you. They are both completely hat stand, but their argument looked pretty sound to me. And I presented what their argument was.
There's nothing wrong with that.
But their
Let's not
argument
forget,
said,
Einstein
exactly.
was eccentric as well. Some of the most
Exactly.
eccentric people, are some of the most brilliant minds. They just think outside the box.
Yeah. But what happened was that the argument was in three parts, and it basically outlined the reason for us to believe that our atmosphere is in thermodynamic equilibrium, thus discounting any possibility of the greenhouse effect being a real thing. And what I got in response from their so-called experts was personal incredulity fallacy, peer review veracity fallacy, appeal to authority fallacy, ad hominem, and anything but an answer to the argument as presented. Because the argument as presented by the strange Irishman is probably correct. And they demonstrated it experimentally, actually, as well, which makes it pretty good. So yeah, that one didn't go down well, and everybody over there had the blinkers on to such a degree that they think that by making appeal to authority fallacy, peer review fallacy, and all those other fallacies I just listed, that means they won, and I was destroyed. Oh, okay. Good. So that's how we're doing science now, is it? We're doing science by popular opinion.
Exactly.
All right.
Pretty
And
much.
that's what we're up against here with, it's not just Greta and her cronies, it's these idiots that want to poke us with nonsense that will very, very likely cause our death sometime within 5 years. Idiots who want us to stop eating our species-appropriate, species-specific diet. They're all in the same category of fucktard, Harry. And
Basically,
they cannot be shown anything. They cannot be convinced of anything. They are theologians. They religiously believe they're claptrap and they're nonsense. For some reason, their numbers are large, and I'd suggest that the reason their numbers are large is because the number of people with relatively high IQs is not large, Harry. The average person is not the smartest tool in the shed,
that's true.
and they will buy into this nonsense. And what these big tech oligarchies are doing is reacting to the popular opinion, the majority opinion. They're saying most people believe this fucking nonsense. We must be seen to be supporting it, thereby making our halos shine and making our bottom right-hand corner strong. We must silence these dissenters, is what we must do.
Let's not forget, most people back in the Middle Ages actually believed in witches and actually went around burning people. So
Yep.
that's not a basis for a good, healthy society at all. And now we've got these sort of things like Dom's actually talking about this
I can think of one witch
apartheid, a new type of apartheid.
Yeah, there is one witch that we could happily put on a pyre, though, Harry, that I can think of.
Yeah, I know. You've got strong feelings there. We'll try not to get you into a lot of trouble and end up in one of her gulags. We don't want you ending up in one of the gulags.
Anyway, just an anecdote, Harry. Do you have any actual evidence to support that claim, or is that just an anecdote? Anecdote.
Ah, yes. You campaign for us, Bart.
Well, yeah. So just
apparently that office is taken by the tech giants.
Yes. Just while I'm thinking about it, so people know, I believe it's the top of the next hour, in 25 minutes or so, the Field Marshal will be premiering on the Meat Militia channel. He has been doing a critique video, as is his general wont, as the Field Marshal, and his little yellow friend was there in force. His little yellow friend has learned a whole bunch of new tricks.
Sounds good.
Yes. The short, skinny, the take-home there is that Yellow Ted is back, and he's back with a vengeance, boys and girls. You will not believe the way Yellow Ted behaved during that recording session yesterday. Anyway, That's premiering in 25 minutes or so on the Meat Militia channel. My word, my word. All right, enough said. What's next?
Yes. We can't comment on this, but yes, we hold similar sentiments about these dodgy people.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yes. Well, I'll give you a bit of bad news on the Mira side. She was forced in Bali to basically take the jab, and she's absolutely sick as a dog. She's actually sicker than what she was when she actually got the actual real disease, and basically, and I said, "Why did you do it?" She said, "I was pressured." And I mean, we're talking about a woman in a society where men run the show. It's very hard to not to say, you know what I mean, being pressured into it. But
Yeah.
it is what it is, and she's really under the sun at the moment and struggling a bit. But hopefully, she'll come through it okay. But this is the reality. I mean, and I said, I mean, you've already had it, the damn thing. You're immune based on I told her about the research, the bone marrow, work that had been done and actually shown. This was done also in Australia. What was it? Can't remember which university now, but anyway, and they actually demonstrated lifetime immunity when you get the actual, the thing that we shouldn't be talking about, and basically, because our platform owners don't like us to. And basically, now that she was forced to take the actual jab, she's actually absolutely sick as a dog, worse than she was when she actually had the virus, the actual virus, the real virus. It
I can't be in
drives me up the wall.
I would be
drives
in
me
there
up the
popping
wall.
cats. I
But
can't
the
believe
problem
you're
is, well,
yeah.
well, in a society like that, it's very hard. I can understand. That's what there's not much she can do, and there's not much I can do from a distance. I'm just basically venting my spleen, and that's all I can do at this stage. But the reality is that these tech giants, because in the past, whether you took something or didn't, or ate something or didn't, was basically your right. You had the freedom to basically decide what went into your body. Simple as that. These people are now believing that they can force, and where does it stop? I mean, you're forced to basically do this. What next? You're forced to eat kibble, whether you like it or not. I mean, where does it stop? I mean, these people think they can just run shotgun and actually force anything they like. It just basically drives me up the wall in that regard.
It stops when enough people stand together, shoulder to shoulder,
Precisely.
and resist with whatever force is required to stop it. It doesn't stop until that happens. I can promise you, boys and girls, this is not going to stop until we stop it. Sorry to tell you that, but those are the facts of the matter. This is going to take action of some kind.
Yeah, precisely. I mean, it's getting to the stage where we as a citizenry can't just sit idly by and just allow them to do whatever they like. For a long time, we have, and they've been running shotgun over the whole population. If I go back and I've actually looked at a lot of community organisations, I mean, whether people like trade unions or not is irrelevant. But if you go back to the 50s and 60s when they were strong, wages of middle-class workers were a hell of a lot higher, So the reality is when you break a lot of the social organizations, whether they're churches, trade unions, a whole lot of civil organizations, and turn the citizenry into basically single units that can be controlled and managed, is what we end up getting. And that's what we've actually ended up getting. Whether you agree with certain organizations, their existence or whatever is irrelevant, but they've eroded a whole lot of civil organizations of all sorts, both left and right and in other parts of society. And what they've done is, this is deliberate. It's not something, because they've actually seen whenever people are organized into any sort of grouping, they basically are a threat to their interests. So there has been a long, long pursuit of turning people into consumerists and basically disconnected from each other, basically hostile in their own little groups, not wanting to have any interaction. And this is why it's even hard to get a protest nowadays, because the majority of the society have been basically desensitized and turned into basically just following the line, the experts. And the experts been turned into the high priests. The expert has been turned into the high priest. And it is no different than the Middle Ages when they had, these priest gods that moved around and told everybody what to believe and what to do and how to behave and how to basically be used as cannon fodder in their war against anyone that dissented. And this is exactly what they're doing again. This is a repetition. It's a secular version of that religious version, but it's no different, guys. It's exactly the same thing. History is repeating itself. They are using the same tried and true mechanisms to control the population and manipulate the population. Before it was sort of these people are heretics. Now, basically, these people are not woke enough. It doesn't matter. So woke is the new religion, and it's being enforced with a vengeance on the entire population. And they are using the population against. This is why you're seeing crazy things happen in supermarkets where somebody's not wearing a mask and people turning around and actually abusing that person. They are doing what their masters want them to do, to discriminate against these people and to treat them as heretics. And this is what is exactly happening in our society. We're ending up, science is being undermined, and the expert is telling us what to believe and what is science, which is what is really they're promoting pseudoscience. And they are using the mob in an organized way to basically go after every heretic. That's people like you, me, and Bart, and many others, many of you guys. And this is the future if we don't stop it and we don't try and make people understand out there that what's happening. So we need to protest. We need to basically get the message out. It's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot of effort, but it's worth the struggle, because if we don't, in the end, we will end up potentially on those being on a pike and being led a light.
Yep, absolutely. So, the take home from me anyway is that as a society, we need to stand up as one. The difficulty with that is that, as I mentioned before, at large, people are fucking stupid and don't have the gumption to do that. People are stupid enough to be sucked into this divide and conquer where the elites set us against each other. They love it. They want us arguing with each other. They want us fighting each other. That way we'll never stand together. That way we will never get our act together to resist them. So that's what we can do as a society. I can't see it happening. As an individual, that leaves us with the one thing that you can control, and that's your own behavior. And at the end of the day, to me, the most important thing is to get as many people as possible to understand that you absolutely must not comply in any way, shape, or form. You must do everything in your power. It is your responsibility to resist this fascist regime with every ounce of strength that you have in your body. And I, for one, am prepared to pay any price whatsoever to defend my basic human rights. So that's my take on it.
Well, the thing is that we need to try and actually use our own networks and try and get the message out there. I think ultimately, if you look through history, it's when people like me, Bart, and many others actually stand up and say enough is enough and start getting out the message that slowly we start to erode the message that they are promoting. I sometimes sit down. Sometimes I go down to Salamanca and I'll interact with people, and I'll sit down and have a chat when I'm having a coffee, and you'll be surprised how many people are completely unaware of most of this sort of stuff, because the major media basically just keeping them in the dark. And then once you basically explain to them, some of this sort of stuff, they go, shit, is this really happening? Some of them initially don't even believe it. They'll sit there and go, what the hell? And then you give them a bit of a background, an idea, and then immediately they sort of realize, but it doesn't take much, because all you have to show is some of the contradictions and some of their actions for the people then to realize, hold on, there's something fishy here. There's something that doesn't smell right. There's a saying that we've got in Australia. It doesn't pass the pub test.
Mm.
I have a tendency to think that when you actually the most outlandish stuff that these people actually say usually doesn't pass the pub test. People don't believe it. They think it's crap and bullshit in that regard. But there is so much disinformation. They're overwhelmed with so much garbage that it's really hard for people to discern what is true and what isn't. And it's the reason why a lot of people, if you don't buy as many newspapers anymore. Newspaper sales are down. They don't basically watch the news as much. I mean, it's the reason why general reporting and all that has basically declined quite a bit. We're heading into a dark age in a sense, because this is how it was as Rome declined into the Middle Ages. We were heading into a sort of a dark age when it came to information. And a similar thing is happening. I mean, here we are, the most connected world ever through this medium, we can tap in, and how we are so disconnected both from the truth and reality. It is so bizarre and crazy to find ourselves.
Yep. Absolutely. Well, good luck.
It's a nice place. Look, it's a nice place. New Zealand's a beautiful place.
We're not
Tasmania's
letting
also a beautiful
in.
place. You were saying?
We're not letting anybody in.
Oh well, you're not invited. I mean, we've got a whole lot of.
Their communist leader has our borders clammed up shut. So,
well, that's one benefit.
Even if you're a card-carrying Kiwi, you can't come back into the country having been outside unless you want to sit in quarantine for 2 weeks, unless you want to get poked. And if you want to refuse the poke, you can sit in quarantine a bit longer until they deem that you shouldn't.
And they're not even offering a good poke. They're offering the arm poke, the wrong poke.
Exactly. Wrong poke. Yeah. Exactly. Also, our communist leader, Jacinda Ardern, has decided in her infinite wisdom to give $2.45 million of taxpayer money to one of the most notorious gangs in the country as well. That's very progressive, isn't it?
Oh, very.
Progressive.
It's a real wacko world that we're living. Even the political parties, traditional left seems more authoritarian. Traditional right seems more liberal in some regards. The whole political fabric is so weird and wonky. You don't know. And the thing is, when you look at the political establishment, it's so disjointed, so disconnected, and you can point at both sides that have got, on paper, seems okay, some things, and a lot of other things that are really bad. And one thing that I do notice is that both major political parties are at one with most of the woke stuff. There is not much difference. Pretty much there is not much difference between them. It's sort of a few things here. There's a couple of rebels in a couple of the parties. I mean, the Labor Party in Australia, the major party, has one rebel, Fitzgibbon, and then the government has a couple of rebels there as well. I mean, there's a couple of lone voices in the wilderness, like the rest of us. But you know what? These are the sort of people we need to support in these organisations, because they need our support to basically, and in the community, and similar voices to basically slowly erode, because don't expect some revolution to happen. It's not. It's going to be a slow erosion, persistent erosion to basically upend these people, because they are, at the end, the majority. I know that the majority are deceived. I realize that, but they are still the majority, and they can be used as cannon fodder against us, like they were used to persecute heretics in the past. We are the new heretics.
The new
And so,
heretics.
yes, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, that's probably another little thing you could throw in there for basically Ted. He's a bit of a heretic, isn't he?
Well, according to himself. Well, watch those that can in about 10 minutes. Have a look at that video. As I say, Ted's learned a whole bunch of new tricks, and he really used a lot, I think. Goodness me.
Yes. In about a couple of minutes from now, we'll be shutting this one down and heading off to listen to Ted. He's got a lot of
To the
good
meat
things to
militia,
say.
yes. I know. Ted has important messages he needs you all to understand, boys and girls. Oh, dear. Dear, oh dear.
Exactly.
Mm. So I think, that actually is probably pretty much the state of the affairs, Harry. I think we've covered it personally.
It pretty
at
much
the end
is.
of the day, we are in a situation. What we need to all understand is this is war. This is warfare. Just because we're not firing bullets at each other at this stage doesn't mean we are not at war for our civil liberties, for our human rights. When we have examples of things occurring like what you were talking about with Mira before, for example, absolutely unforgivable. I would be livid. I would literally be on a plane to go and kill somebody with my bare hands, probably, if that was me.
Yeah.
I know that others are much more. Well, exactly. There's just, at the end of the day, something has been done that cannot be undone to somebody,
Exactly.
and it may cost that person their life, potentially.
I hope not.
On top of that, there is nobody you can seek legal action, legal redress from, because they're all acting legally. Well,
That is Bart's.
not actually acting
Ted,
legally, but yeah.
That's a Ted video. I've just pinned that now. I've replaced the other pinning. So this is the new pinning. So do go and watch Ted vent his spleen.
Indeed.
He's Teddy Bear's spleen.
Mm. Yes. Indeedy.
Anyway, any final words, mate?
No, I think that was it. I think pretty much we've covered it. At the end of the day, yep, we're all under the cosh. We're all being strangled. We've got boots across our throats. We've got YouTube holding us down, preventing us from getting our message out there. We've got social justice warriors running around, applauding that behavior because, of course, granny killers like Harry and I need to be stopped. I can't see an end to it, Harry. I genuinely can't. I can't see a way out of it or around it, other than saying to people as many times as possible, this stops when you personally do something about stopping it.
Exactly.
And that means
and that's it.
Action of some kind. I'm not suggesting violence. That's the last resort.
Yeah, that exactly is. At this stage, what we're suggesting is you guys have got a mouse in your hands, and you can become, the heretic soldiers of the meat militia, and you can go after these people. And if many of us mouse heretics basically take them on globally and expose them for what they are, we can make a big difference. And we've seen it happen in the past. It doesn't take millions. I mean, remember, if you look at all the protests of the past, it was well organized smaller minorities, smaller segments of the population, 2 or 3, 5% at most, that basically were able to galvanize a movement and then eventually drag the majority of the rest of the population who realized what the hell's happening. Because somebody has to expose the lies. And once you expose the lies, then other people start questioning the dogma, because that's what it is. It's a pseudo-scientific the dogma of the experts, which basically the tech giants are like the kings, like the kings and emperors, and basically the high priests are basically their experts that come out and they basically put them forward to basically brainwash people. It's the new religion. It's the pseudo tech religion that they basically promote. It's a misanthropic religion, but it actually has got a lot of legs currently, and we need to stand up and expose it for what it is. Granny got 90-day prison sentence for not wearing a face mask.
Awesome.
What the hell? Awesome. What a society. Next, I'll be basically burning her at the stake.
Yes. She's a witch. Does she wear the same as a duck?
That's it.
Okay.
Not a problem. You're welcome. Thanks for being here.
Not at all. My pleasure. Let's go and see what Ted had to say, shall we?
Exactly.
All right.
See us all and switch over to the other one. You got the link. See us over there.
Bye.